What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Comics Grind. I'm one of your hosts, Nico Rodriguez.
And I'm Ken, aka Kami Ken, on YouTube.
And welcome back for another awesome episode of the Comics Grind. This week in particular is very, very special because we have a special guest here, Joseph Schiller, author and event organizer. Joseph, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well. Just trying to take advantage of the summer off work and get some projects out of the way, man.
Yeah, because your day job is a teacher, right?
Good
You're
teacher, yeah.
English teacher, right? If I
No, I'm
can
a
remember.
history teacher.
History teacher.
Yeah.
That's right. Sweet, man. No, thanks so much for joining us here. Is going to be a fun conversation. This is the first time because Ken and I, we're both cartoonists, so we haven't had like a specific writer here, so it's going to be pretty interesting. But the first kind of segment that we do of our episodes, it's called the weekly grind. Basically, it's just kind of us talking about like what we've done for this week creatively. So Joseph, have you got any goals accomplished? Have you been able to do any writing this week?
So I kind of have several pies that I take little bites out of, and so just to kind of, I guess, outline that, I'm working on the Spanish language translation of my fantasy novel. That's one of several projects. And then I am working on the art. I am collaborating with a comic artist on my graphic novel. And so that's a work in progress. Um, and I've got a nonfiction as well that I have to start working on the editing for as well. So and then I have a book fair event that I'm the organizer for. That's shy of 2 months away. So
Nice.
I've got like 4 or 5 projects that I'm kind of like juggling. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that sounds like really similar to what I'm doing right now. It's like you take one thing you're doing one day, and then maybe it goes on longer than it needs to, so you have to move the other pie that you got going to the next day, and you have to start that too. Um, so would you say like you're organized in terms of I'm gonna do this on this day, I'm gonna do this on the next day, or does it just kind of mesh together and one day bleeds into the next?
So what I'm a very type A personality. So I'm kind of task oriented.
Mm,
And that's so I would say I'm more on the methodical side of the spectrum versus like just kind of free flow.
right.
Um, and so I do try to backwards plan. So I I'll set benchmarks for myself that they don't always pan out, but I try to set benchmarks for myself, and then I try to backwards plan from those.
Hmm.
And so as much as possible, I try to be specific with myself about what I am planning to do on any given day. And then as things happen, I make adjustments to that plan, but I do try to. But that's just because I work better that way.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
I'm the complete opposite.
Well, and I think that you know it, I, there's really no right. There's really no. It's amazing because I've met creative types that they don't have a plan. They just sit down and start working, and things magically happen, right?
Right.
So I feel like I'm always amazed at that because I just don't like my brain's so wired differently. So everyone has their own, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think in Joseph, you do so many shows and stuff too, man. Like I definitely want to dig into that into terms, in terms of like how does that factor into your schedule, like
Mm.
getting kind of, prepared for that and dedicating travel days to get out to the show to set up and then to travel back. We'll kind of get a little bit more into that as we get a little bit further into the show.
Okay.
Ken, what was your comics week like? Were you able to get some stuff done?
Well, yeah, I was about to mention that because like I'll have a plan for what I want to do the next day or like 2 days from now, and then I'll get excited, really excited about a new project or a new like idea, and start working on that, or try to jot something down about it. And then sometimes that'll take away hours and mental focus away from what I really should be doing. And then I'll just be like too mentally tapped out to start working on the thing I should have done. And that's weird because it's like when I'm doing a job or when I'm doing like my 9 to 5, it's just go to work, do the job, and then go home. But then when you're doing like creative work, it's like I could do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's like watering plants. It's like watering seeds. Nothing like fully blossoms until it just kind of happens, you know. But that's how my week was pretty much. I have to do colors for a book project that I'm working on with Aaron Conley, and then I have to do a comic cover for somebody's Kickstarter project, and then I also have to do what is it? I have to do like air writer work. I have to do air writer work and
Yeah,
sending up all the links for like the comics grind and
dude, Ken, do not forget about Air Rider, man.
yeah, exactly. Like
Air Rider's your bread and butter, dude.
right, for sure. But yeah, like setting up all the like business stuff, like video stuff, like linking stuff takes so long to do in terms of like setting up a business. It's like put this link here, make sure when people click on this that it goes over here, because if you don't do that right, then it's like doing nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean, like even like doing this podcast, right? Like we have one night a week that we do the podcast, but it takes like a half of a night just to kind of get all this stuff done. So you've kind of already lost like an eighth of your week just by having to set up and record and stuff.
Right.
Um, but no, that's like you were saying, like with like I really like that analogy by watering plants, because that's kind of how it's been for me too. I picked up another kind of smaller gig for a writer this month as well, and that's
Nice.
gonna be ongoing for a handful of months, I think. So it's kind of like, okay, so now I have that. I have the Houston comics scene zine that we've put out recently,
Right.
that I've been kind of blasting on Instagram and whatnot. Shameless plug right here to those of you who want to pick it up. It's for free at Bedrock City Comics and Texas Art Supply, and
Nice.
Cactus Music here in Houston. But so
Wow.
we're kind of working on that, and so I've got to do art for that. But not only do I have to do art, we have to find other artists to contribute, and then we have to package all that together. So it's kind of like, and then on top of that, still doing the graphic novel. So I've kind of worked out a routine to where my mornings and my lunch hours are dedicated to like the non-West, not South stuff. So the
Right.
zine, the gigs, and whatever other kind of like Instagram illustrations I do or whatever. And then after work, after 5:30, 6 p.m., that's when I go back to the graphic novel, keep plugging away on that. So it's kind of a new little routine that I've developed. It's been working okay for the last week or so.
Nice.
But just want to get that damn book finished, man. I,
Right.
I'm having so much fun with it, but it's just kind of like, I wish I had all the time in the world. I'm sure you guys feel like this as well. I wish I had all the time in the world to just dedicate and finish it, and then be
Yeah.
like, boom, check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
It's never that simple.
it's amazing. It's amazing because I guess you guys are the same way. Your what you do creatively is you. Like that is you 100% in every sense of the word. That is you. And so when you have to get pulled away from doing you, it's hard. And because
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
man.
I was about to
So
say like when I was a teenager, drawing and being creative was just natural. It was just like the thing to do because I had all the time in the world. I didn't have any like responsibilities or bills to pay, so I didn't have to draw for money or anything. It was just okay, I get to create this world on my own. I don't have any like skills. I can't really like market it or sell it, but I mean, it's like free reign to do what I want and create what I want. It doesn't have to be marketed specifically to anybody or anything. It's just for fun, purely for fun.
Yeah.
So that's when I felt like I was the most when I learned the most, but also when I could produce the most because it was just full time, like just free time, outside of school and homework and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a double-edged sword because you want to work to where you can draw whatever you want, make whatever you want, and make good money at it. But in
Yeah,
order to get to that point, you've got to like put in all like the marketing shit that you hate, like
yeah.
drawing stuff that maybe you're not super hyped on. So yeah, it's a weird conundrum we have there.
It's like crawling in the mud to get to that place
Yeah.
that you really want to get
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but cool, man. That was some good work we've got done this week. But Joseph, let's kind of turn to you a bit. So let's kind of go ahead and start talking about the Author Indie Book Fair, and kind of what gave you this idea to kind of to run this show. What's it all about? What are you kind of trying to establish with this show?
Okay. So I guess I'll just start with like the basics. So I'm organizing a book fair. It's August 26th on Saturday, 10 to 6 at Sawyer Yard, at one of Sawyer Yards' many art studios, Spring Street Studios over in Sawyer Heights. Um, and all genre will be there. We got comics, fantasy, nonfiction, self-help, poetry, short story anthologies. We have the whole spectrum of
Yeah,
authors. And I'm only inviting Texas-based indie authors, so self-published or published with an indie press. And um, the I guess the genesis of the project, because it's not that there are not other opportunities for self-published authors to present their work to the public. So I'm not inventing a new means of transportation for getting promoting work, but essentially I've done, you mentioned I'm pretty active with events, and I have been for the past year, with my fantasy novel that came out a year ago. And I've just been kind of taking mental notes of things that I like about other events and things that I don't. And my goal for this was to have an event that maximized all the pros and minimized all the cons. And because I'm not making any money on this event. I'm just passing on what I have to charge to to the vendors, to the authors. So this is not about making money. This is about, it's, I guess you could almost think of it as this: creating an event for myself and then inviting all of my author and creator friends to join me. Is
yeah,
essentially what this is. So yeah, I'm just trying to have a platform that's affordable, that's
yeah,
at a great location, that
yeah.
that
Mm,
has that has the ability to help contribute to pulling, because there some events, the venue itself really can't help attract traffic. So that was another thing, was affordable, but the venue could help attract traffic.
Yeah,
Man.
I mean, I've been to Sawyer Yards and those in the art studio area around there, and it's awesome. It's so conducive to creativity because I mean, you have tons of artists already in that area that are renting out studios. So just like the general vibe of the venue is really awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Actually,
and-
I just wanted to interject for a second and say, like, if you guys go back in the video, you can actually like scan the QR code through the screen to
Yeah.
get more information on
Yeah.
the book fair.
We'll
Yeah.
throw it up here at the end or something,
Yeah.
and make sure to
um,
take a snap of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, and on top of this, a number of the artists in Spring Street will have their galleries open to the public that day. So I honestly am really looking forward to kind of this hybrid event that the public can, you know, meet a bunch of amazing, you know, literary voices, but also see a number of great visual artists and their and their work. So I think just overall it'll be a good Saturday. You could spend 2 or 3 hours easily with the art and the in literature and stay out of the heat for a few hours. So
Yeah,
Nice.
definitely. So is the event free to attendees?
it's free to the
Yeah.
public.
Free to the public.
Free to the public. Yeah, if we bring up that that flyer in a bit, the QR code will link you to the Eventbrite thing. I mean, obviously, you don't have to have a ticket. I mean, the Eventbrite, the way they have it, where you can get these like free virtual tickets. None of that means anything. You don't have to have it. Just come. But yeah, if you want to get the tickets, because you'll get reminders from Eventbrite, so you don't forget about the event. I suppose that's the only added benefit.
Right.
But yeah, and Nico's going to be there. Ken
Damn.
can't be there because of work obligations, but next year, Ken, you're going to be there, or I'll do my part to rope you in if I can.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
Nico will be there in full ready to go with a few and I think we have 7 or 8 comic creators
Nice.
that are going to be there. Yeah. A couple of newbies that Nico, you may not even actually both of you may not even a couple of kids out of a College Station. So
Cool.
yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. I mean, it's to highlight indie creators, small press indie type creators. I mean, we need more of that. Sheer, in the sheer facts of things, we need more spotlight because when you go to these giant big shows like a Comic Palooza, like a bigger Comic Cons around in the bigger cities, if you're a smaller creator, you might get engulfed by pop figures and all this stuff. So having something like this is super exciting. And certainly if you guys are in the Houston area and don't want to spend any money going to a show, hop into the Sawyer Yards, man. It's the Sawyer Yards are dope as hell. And there's a brewery right around the corner.
Yeah.
Go grab a beer, come buy some indie stuff. It's certainly going to be a good time. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to ask, so you're planning on, and you kind of mentioned it there, but you're planning on doing this as like an annual event. I guess you've got to see how everything goes here first, but that's your intention.
Exactly. The ultimate long-term plans will be based on this year's event, but that is the plan, would be to have this same day of the month every year, same location, unless there are a couple of features that I want to add to the event, and I just really have to look at this year's event, how it goes, and whether or not the venue will accommodate that. But Sawyer Yards has so many venue spaces that I'm sure we could figure that out. But yeah, it would be that's the goal, is to have this as an annual thing.
Cool,
Nice.
man. That's awesome. Excited for it. I'm excited for it. Let's talk a little bit about what you got going on in the world of comics creating, Joseph. So I think you told Ken and you kind of showed him some artwork and stuff, but so you're kind of working on your own graphic novel, correct?
I am. But see, so Nico's trying to play coy. He's trying to play like he doesn't, because he's the host of the show. So he wants to play like he doesn't know what's going on. But actually, he knows exactly what's going on because he was in the initial conversation where the idea was first spoken into word, right?
Wow.
So just to, I guess, background real quick. Nico, Justin, Prine, and I were on a road trip to one of the a Comic-Con in San Antonio, and the two of them were in the front seat talking about other projects and ideas, and I was in the back seat just kind
as we do.
Exactly, as you do. And I was in the back seat with in my own thoughts, kind of feeding off what they were saying and throwing in my own thoughts. And so I had this idea for a graphic novel, and just, so just to, I guess, give you the basic premise of it. So I thought it would be kind of fun to explore what it would be like if, let's say, like older, let's say, 75-year-old former superheroes were no longer, they no longer could be those, active superheroes, and they needed a care facility to begin taking care of them. And so that's the idea, is that there's a care facility that is dedicated to helping post prime metahumans. And but the I guess the joke or the spin on it is that they still think that they're young and healthy and have full control of their powers, but they don't, right? And so that's the joke, is the comic spin, the dark humor side of it is that. And so that's, and then from there, I thought it would be kind of cool to combine to almost create like comic shorts about several of these superheroes, right? So so this is kind of an anthology, if you will, of comic shorts of superheroes that are all reside in this care facility, and kind of these short dark humorous stories about them, and them not being able to control their powers, and how that affects themselves and other people at the nursing home. And so that's the story, or the description of this collection of stories. I had the writing, the first rough draft done, I think, back within about a week of us getting back from that San Antonio trip. And then I had that's evolved more because what I had wasn't enough for an artist to be able to take and run with it. So I had to work on that. But about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I began finding an artist, and I finally settled on a young man out of Indonesia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, through Upwork.com. And
right.
You saw the art. The art's fabulous. And he I don't have to hold his hand. I mean, he's been able to work pretty well with what I've given him, minus a few clarifications here and there. But the kid's fabulous. Artwork's fabulous. And I've been super happy with the progress. And I should be ready end of September to tease that out, like officially start teasing that out. And then my goal is by the middle of January for Tri-City Comic-Con to be able to officially launch at Tri-City. So
nice. That's awesome. So you said it's going to be a full-fledged graphic novel right off the bat. You're not going to serialize it or anything?
Nope.
Awesome.
So I mean, this it's kind of, so this project is not going to be standalone in the sense that there's like an immediate follow-up or anything like that. But I do have some other ideas that are ancillary to this one that I will put out individually over the next several years, but they are somewhat connected. Just to kind of maybe tease out so one of the ideas that I had to go along with this was like to have like like a like a delivery ward at a hospital, but like at a hospital that like the delivery ward for just metahumans, and that when the babies are born, they don't know yet like what their powers are going to be, so they find out at post delivery, like while and so like there's a whole like a series of like accidents that happen when they they're trying to figure out like, okay, well, each baby is starting to gradually reveal what their powers are.
Right. And
And
that
so
would be like the opposite of what you got with
exactly. And so
right.
the idea would be that would be like eventually I'd have them all in a kind of a offered into a larger collection of but that would be the idea, was that start with that one, end with the one I'm currently on, and I have a
Right.
couple of ideas to fill in the gap. But yeah,
would it be like a I'm sorry, would it be like a type of Rugrats idea, like superhero Rugrats?
So I haven't gone down that path long enough to tease out for myself what, but the idea is definitely like, okay, baby's born, they're in that that in the hospital for a few couple of days, right before, and it's during that time that babies are according to my storyline, right, babies are starting to reveal their superpowers, but like that causes chaos. So I don't know yet. It's still early in the creative process, but
right.
but something like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Jack from the
Exactly.
Yeah.
Incredibles, where he's
And
just like,
I'm fully aware that the idea definitely takes pieces of like several existing things, but I'm just putting my own unique spin on that. But yeah.
I mean, that's how the best ideas get made. Like taking the best out of other properties and then like combining it through alchemy to make something new and better.
Yeah, I was actually just watching the Stan Lee documentary on Disney Plus last night.
It's fabulous.
In there's a lot of controversy with Stan Lee, as we all know. But it was interesting listening to him talk about his impetus for Spider-Man, and kind of how there was I think it was a crime noir book that existed well before Spider-Man, and it was just called The Spider, and that's kind of like what drove him to kind of create Spider-Man, get the whole spider powers and everything, which was pretty interesting. So even like the greatest, most legendary characters like Batman, Spider-Man, like they all come from some kind of spark before that.
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Batman's probably the biggest one. Where I mean, the creators.
Isn't it Howard Hughes, or wasn't it Howard Hughes that he was based off of?
All I know is that there's a supposedly a connection between Zorro and Batman, and it was supposed, and so there's some, but yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, it's all about finding an idea that, yeah, and it may be based on something else, but is there ever something that's amazing that didn't? I mean, I can't think of anything good that has ever been created that couldn't have already started from something else. Like there's always an origin of everything.
Yeah.
Right?
There's even like the most unique of properties, like something still sparks that idea that they've read or seen before.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at something and you're thinking, I could do that better, or I could do it in this direction, or I could do that this way. And then I think that's what sparks the most like creative new works. I think if it's too creative, if it's too out there, too disconnected from what already exists, people are just going to be like, I can't really connect with it. And those ones we don't even like see or read or hear of, or maybe they're just like really obscure. But I think it's the ones that connect, that take the best or like the brightest ideas from already existing works and then combine it to with like market appeal and just that spark of a new like idea that really do well and spread and push the medium forward.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
I have some things to say on that, but we're not going to get into it.
No, you can get into it for sure.
No,
Like,
no,
that's
because
what
I'm
it's
just
all
saying,
about.
like, well, I mean, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't think it always has to be like mass media appeal for it to be great. You know, like I don't
Right.
think that because like, I mean, you know, just kind of thinking of like the most trippy of stories or the most like out there of stories, like I want to see that. I want to buy that. You know, even if it doesn't, and probably not going to appeal to you or to Joseph or to who else, but like if it's something wild and out there, like I would buy the wild and out there thing before I would buy the thing that's tried and true and trusted.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
that's just from my
you,
perspective.
you, you, there's something that I've begun learning about the comic side of things. That's because I started off as a short story writer, moved into novel, and now I'm moving into graphic novels as a writer. So for me, this is a new world for me. So I'm starting to kind of learn a few things or pick up on a few things, and something that I've come to really appreciate about the comic side of things is the art. Like it's a whole different, it's its own, almost its own separate animal aside from the writing. Now the writing can be amazing, it can also be garbage, but the art sometimes is what people are gravitating to, if not all the time maybe. But I just feel like when I'm picking up, like I feel like when I'm looking at indie graphic novelists, comic creators specifically, I'm looking for the art. Like I want you to sell me on, I want you to sell me on a story with the art, because I feel like, you know, I'll I don't know. I just feel like with with mainstream comics, there's kind of a an established playbook that they're going off of, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really break up the monotony of what I'm reading. I like the indie creators because the art is doing something different. It's selling me on a different type of story, and so I'm hooked with the art first, and then the story is like, okay, I like this because, so I don't know, it's different. It's a different world.
Yeah, yeah, I would say I feel the same way about getting into new comic books. It's like the art is what's gonna grab me first, and the story second for sure. I think when I get into a comic book for the story, it's because I've heard good things about the story beforehand, or
Yeah.
maybe a movie came out or some other medium came out that represented the comic book, and then I can get into the comic that way through the story. And then if the art is not that good, then I can disregard the art and let it carry me through the story like its purpose is. But if the art itself is good on its own, that's what I'll pick a book up for. That's what I'll buy it for. And if the story's good, that's like an incidental. But I feel
Right.
like a lot of good, like really great art can be dragged down by a good story if you're looking at it as a whole, like this
No.
art and the story is combined together. But if you're just looking at it as just the art, then you can buy a book just off the art and like really enjoy it just by looking at the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just going bouncing off of that. So, quick little anecdote here. So, I was telling you guys that I watched the Stan Lee documentary last night with the lady. She enjoyed it, and then I was like, all right, now let's go and watch this Robert Crumb interview. And we got through about 9 minutes, and she was like absolutely disgusted.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I was there, like just like digesting like this wild creators mentality on things. But just like talking about like would Robert Crumb be Robert Crumb if he had if he stuck straight to straight laced comics? You know, like his ability to push the medium, push the artwork, push the storytelling. I mean, made him the iconic legend that he is. If he stuck straight
Right.
to like doing like a normal Stan Lee, Steve Ditko type of book, you know, he's not going to be known as, you know, basically the founding father of indie slash underground comics. You know,
Right.
I mean, I think that it takes some people who, you know, who really have that desire to kind of go out there, to really kind of drive home that and push the medium forward. You know, I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
something that I'm always kind of thinking about. It's always in the back of my head. It's like, how can I make this a little different? How can I like break the panel border? You know, how can I like do some weird colors here or something? So yeah, I don't know. It's, you know, I think of course there's an argument to be made, like great comics need to be mass marketed because, you know, people need to read them, people need to be into them.
Yeah.
But then there's also the segment where it's like, look, a masterpiece is a masterpiece, no matter, you know, if it's wild and crazy or if it's like straight laced, you know.
Yeah.
So
There's something to be said. So this is something that a couple of things, I guess, anecdotes that I picked up on from kind of my side. So like from the writer's side, right? And this is really kind of something that is a mantra that I learned, and that is that if you write for yourself, and that's the primary person you're writing for, and that you're happy with the product, then really nothing else matters. Like honestly, nothing else matters. I don't care whether you like what I've got or you don't like what I got. And if you do, awesome, great.
Mhm.
And I think that that's the thing about anyone that's kind of independent, is that I would say 99% of the time they started off creating for themselves and not for anybody else and for any other reason. And so I would say it doesn't matter whether it's an indie fantasy or it's a graphic novel or it's a, you know, I don't think it matters what it is. I think the ultimate idea is that you've created something that's individual and unique. And if it becomes, you know, widely popular, awesome. If it doesn't, who cares? Because at the end of the day, I created it because it needed to be created, you know, and for no other reason. And the wonderful thing with graphic novels or with comic books that is different from, let's say, a novel format, right? Is with a novel, for example, I got one shot. I got one shot for you to like my book, and that's the cover. That is the front cover.
Right.
You can't flip through my fantasy and get more excited about it from the text on the pages.
You're like, damn, dude, I fucking love that font. Like that font is dope as hell. I'm buying this book
You
off
can't
of
do
that font.
Exactly. I can't keep exciting you every time you turn a page out of that book. I can't. But with a graphic novel, I can have something that's speculative in it, and it's groundbreaking, and you're able to pick up on that every time you flip that page because the art is continuing to engage you. And that's something that I'm excited about with the graphic novel. Here, I'm going to turn a light on real quick because it's getting dark outside.
Go for it. You see what we just opened up the can of worms.
Yeah, but that is you know, that's something that I'm excited about with this project is, you know, exploring a different way of creating something beautiful. But but you made a comment, Nico, and that is, you know, kind of these masterpieces, and I think indie, you know, a lot of indie creators, I think need to have the mentality that you're creating like the Rembrandt of, you're not creating the mass produced art that's put on, that's used in commercials and used in all others, these other, you know, things. You're creating a Rembrandt and stick behind it. I mean, again, who cares if you don't sell 10,000 copies? Who cares? I mean, honestly, like my graphic novel, just like with my fan, I don't care if it sells, as long as I'm happy with it. Never selling.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just it really depends. And Ken and I have spoken about this numerous times about your niche, finding your target audience, finding like
Mm.
who is going to be into it. Because like me myself, like I love cartoony art. Like you know, I'll buy Usagi Yojimbo all the time, and it's pretty mass appeal. It's kind of mass appealing because it's cartoony art and people like it. Um, you know, but it's just really about because you have your guys who want the comic book art or who want the superhero comic book art. You got those guys that want the big Jim Lee stuff. They want 90s maybe like a Rob Liefeld type of artwork. They want that big bombastic type of stuff.
Right.
But I do that. That is a good approach. If that's what you're going for, like if you're going for this kind of Rembrandt, if you will, of indie comics, freaking dive in head first, just go for it. If you're trying to be surreal as hell and try to do crazy stuff, just get crazy with it.
Yeah.
It's the best thing about indie comics, man. You can do basically whatever you think of.
Yeah.
Yep.
With minimal budget,
Yeah.
Um, but aside from that, Joseph, I want to talk to you a little bit about like marketing and doing shows and stuff like that. First of all, like you're a huge show guy. You go to a lot of shows. There's a stint sometimes where you're like at a different show every weekend.
Yeah.
Like how do you balance this stuff, man? I know there's Ken and I are indie creators. There's a lot of other independent creators out there watching. Like how do you balance going to shows sometimes 3, 4, 5 weekends in a row?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I necessarily have secrets. So I'll share a few things with but the first thing is and actually the one primary reason that I'm able to do anything at all like ever is that I have an amazing wife. So just so that has to be the first thing I say, and then I could probably just keep repeating that because but
Bring her on the show.
I really know she actually because she is a highly ambitious individual herself, and she respects and supports the ambition in others, and by extension her husband, myself, me. And so I think that it's really because she has such faith and unconditional support for me to do what I need to do creatively, that I'm able to do anything at all. It helps that that my two oldest boys are on autopilot now. That helps. So we only have one small one, and the older he gets, the more on autopilot he gets. So so I think that's those factors help. My job is amazing. Like honestly, like I would say 99% of teachers complain about their jobs. I do not. I love my job. I love the school I'm at. I don't feel taxed when I leave work, so I can come home and crank out 2 hours worth of work, and I don't feel like I'm forcing it.
Nice.
So I do think that there are a lot of factors that are just out of my hands that I happen to just be able to take advantage of.
Mhm.
But in terms of the weekend stuff, again, it's just the support I have from my wife and family, and to do it. And I do bring there's a few times that I've been able to bring the family along. And so I try not to make it about me if I can. But and I did say that in the first year after that fantasy came out, that I was gonna do everything I could within my power to give it life, and I've done that. But I've definitely scaled it back in terms of I'm not doing every weekend anymore. I'm being more strategic about what I sign up for now, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I just got burned out. I mean, it, like I said, that I told myself the first year I was gonna full tilt, you know, balls to the walls, get it out there, but it's not sustainable, and I'm starting to gradually tick back what I was doing, and also because I got like 4 other projects and so I have to find balance. You're always readjusting your balance, and that's one of the things is just readjusting it. But if there's one thing though that I learned, and that is no one else is going to champion your work. No one else will do it.
Right.
And even if you get picked up, like in my case, right, as a traditional writer of like novels, right, even if I were to get picked up by a publisher, they're not going to champion my book. The days of a first time published author getting these big book deals and stuff, that's gone. And my suspicion is it's even harder for a comic artist to get that, to hit that point. So no one's going to champion your work if you're not willing to champion it and to do what is necessary to be that advocate for it. Then it's not going anywhere.
Right. And I was about to ask, on that note, would you say that the marketing that you did, going to all those shows, was hitting it that hard? Was it fruitful for your business in terms of like selling books, getting it out there, and creating that fan base?
I've never thought about it. I've never asked myself that question. If I can just think about it now and respond to it now, I would say the answer is probably no.
Are you in the start of the career, or like?
This was my first published. So the book that I started marketing, my fantasy novel, that was my first published novel. I had some short stories and poems published before, but in terms of entering like the world of writing and marketing that work, this was the first project.
Oh, okay.
And it's hard. Part of me wants to say no, it didn't do much at all. But the other part of me wants to say it's hard to know, because it is my first work. It is only the first year of that. And so part of me wants to say no, but I think the reason I want to say no is because it's hard to qualify things you don't see, the impact you don't see. So, who knows? But but like I said, I knew that if I wasn't going to be out there, boots on the ground, it would have gone. I mean, because I think I here just recently reached my 1,000 book mark, and so I don't, that would never, that accomplishment never would have happened without the in-person events. Never.
1,000 book mark meaning books sold, or?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, that's great.
But that never would have happened, because I would say at least 50%, if not maybe 60%, came from events.
Right.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, I think that the 1,000 books sell, like that's a great benchmark for sure.
Yeah.
But even without that, I think that you've already learned that, you've learned so many things, right? You learn that you need to be more strategic in your show selection. You've learned what you do like about shows and what you don't like, and you're immediately making a plan by doing your own show now, or organizing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think whenever one of the first shows I might have done with you, Joseph, I kind of I saw like that same mentality that I had whenever I first started it, because I was like doing shows all the time. I was going like Thursday night, like nerdy mixer events, like, spending like till 2 a.m. out on a Thursday night, coming home dog ass tired, like having to go to work the next morning, doing every little show that I could. And I was like, dude, this is just too much. Like, I need to be more selective because, for one of those shows that you do, you sell 15 books, but then the other show that you do, you sell like 3 books.
Right.
Or 2. And it's like, where's the balance? You need to find some kind of balance. But, that's, I think, like, by going through the ringer, like you said, like the boots on the ground, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And then now you've kind of like understood, okay, you understand the game a little bit more. So like at the very least, like that's a great tool that you've picked up that you wouldn't have picked up if you didn't do all those shows,
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest. I mean, I think that, I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I think it's and not everybody that's on our side of, the creative side, not everybody enjoys it. There are people who hate interacting with other people. They can write 100 books and that's all they want to do is just write. They don't want to engage, and that's fine. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I for me, I don't know. It's just a kind of a cool, like a cool, I don't know, little thing. I hung out with a bunch of other people who like the same shit I do, and talk about the same stuff I do, and nerd it out, and I can't talk. I mean, even though my wife is supportive and my children are supportive, they're not going to talk to me about it, and so
totally right there with you. That's why I'm like, it's cool. Like whenever you're able to go to a show, you do the show, then you go hang out with your other show buddies, like afterwards, go grab it, kind of like how we did in San Antonio that weekend. We went, did the show, had a cool show, awesome event, went afterwards, grabbed some dinner, talked about creativity, grabbed a beer, and it was that stuff I love about it. But yeah, it's like getting to that point where like you understand like selectivity is such a benefit, when you're trying to do all this stuff,
right?
Time and monetarily wise, because this stuff freaking takes money.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of one last thing before we kind of wrap up here, Joseph. Self-publishing, man. Is there any kind of advice you can kind of give out there, give to the other self-publishers out there, whether they're comics, whether they're doing prose books, going the self-publishing route? Have you picked up anything kind of valuable that you can share with the audience here?
Yeah, maybe that will apply to like 2 comic book creators, not us, but I mean like for people out there,
Yeah.
Well, it actually, my graphic novel will be published with the same company that I use with my novel, and I will continue using. So, and I use Ingram Spark. They're the world's largest self-publishing print-on-demand company out there. I did my due diligence. I spent, I can't tell you the number of hours, conversations, doing my due diligence prior to making that decision. And ultimately it was the right decision for me. And they've been fabulous. They have a pretty simple online platform, that everything gets uploaded and you set everything up, and once it's set up, it's available globally online, and bookstores can order from them, because I'm in like 17 bookstores, which wouldn't have happened if I had printed on KDP, for example, with Amazon or
I got a quick question on that, Joseph. So with that being so widely available, like with those 17 bookstores, did you like cold call them and say, "Hey, I'm indie writer Joseph. My book is out. You can order it." Like, is that a pretty good method of going about it?
Okay, so I will tell you what I did, and I'm not going to say I will say it's the most efficient way. I definitely don't know if it's the most effective, but it's definitely the most efficient. And that was this. So I created this kind of universal email that introduced myself, introduced my book, introduced the synopsis, where to find it, blah, 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 kissing a little bit of ass in the process. And I drafted this email, and there is a, there was a website, it's like, I forget even the name, but there's a website that was free that had a database of all of the indie bookstores globally. And I literally sent out 4,000 emails individually.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
4,000?
Yeah. I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing with libraries. I've done the same thing. But yeah, I mean, that's what I did. And I got into 17 bookstores. So
damn, dude. Hey,
Nice.
it cost me
you
cost
had a
me
success
$0.
rate. Yeah.
It took me, I think, a week of my time.
Wow.
Dude, and I did
emails, that's massive.
I did it last summer when I was off. So I had the summer off. I had the time.
Yeah.
It cost me nothing. So
yeah. No, I mean that whole I mean that's an interesting. I like that because like with that platform you're able to do that. You're able to at least try. I mean, even if you call like local shops, like, hey, I'm a Houston local. I feel or like, whatever city you live in, I feel like that could add some benefit, to those bookshops ordering it. Yeah, man, that's great. That's certainly great info.
I'm all about DIY until you can't DIY. Like,
right.
And there are people who have money and they're willing to pay however much money for other people to do their work for you. That's fine. But it's all about working smarter and not harder, and working for less. So
yeah, that's such a good benefit though, that you have like the summers too, especially being a creator, because you can either focus on creating the book, creating the content, or you can take, a week of that time and like do stuff like that. I mean, that's a pretty awesome benefit that you have there. So
so then is the and Nico, show my screen on the Ingram Spark thing. Because the Ingram Spark, I haven't heard of it in comics. I don't hear anybody in comics talking about it. And you
can choose your print material. You can do the full glazed front cover, interior paint. Like, you can choose, for example, you can choose the quality of paper, and you can choose the size of the format, and the whole 9 yards. Now, the only thing that I won't be able to do yet with them is to have the ebook, because that will have to be formatted for, but that's not as straight and simple. But yeah.
And so it's free sign up, and they just basically take a cut of the sales, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Got it.
And this works for comic books too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's not about. I mean, because when you go in and start selecting your, for example, the size of the print, you get your 8, your 10.625 or whatever inches by whatever, and then you go in, you say, I want, I'm trying to think of they don't call it paperback, they call it I can't remember what they call it, but they have their own term for it. But you just select that's what you want. You select that you want a full color, interior and exterior. And then what ends up happening is you just upload the metadata, right? The digital, book as a PDF, so that and they verify the metadata is all there, and then
no, that's super useful. I mean, it's when you hear about like Kickstarters and stuff, and you hear like the fulfillment nightmares, I
Mhm.
mean, this like completely destroys that, and you don't have to worry about it.
Which
Exactly.
makes me wonder why like more comic artists aren't talking about it or haven't mentioned it.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. Like I know Amazon has like their print on demand service, and there's a
Mhm.
handful of other things. I think it's just, you know, it's for some creators, it's hard to surrender, that either the controlling aspect of it or just surrendering, that fee that they have to pay with every sale. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that like that's for me thinking about it. I'm like, okay, do I want to sacrifice that, or do you want to run the Kickstarter and fulfill yourself, or even use a service like Zoop, like Nick Pitara has done with Axe Builder John. I
Yeah.
mean, where they take care of all the fulfillment, but of course you got to pay them the money to do it.
So
Right.
and that's when I was looking at because I know that like Waco Plus, they same thing, they use Zoop as well, and I looked into it, and when I started looking at all the fees that they charged, I was like, no, thank you. I mean, yeah, it's streamlined, and they're handling all the back office, but again, they're handling things that if you're a healthy individual, there's no reason why you can't be doing some of that on your own with a little bit of time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
it's like that divide again, right? Like between being the creator, the businessman, the supply
Yeah.
chain dude, like which one
Yeah.
do you want to focus on? I mean, I would love to just be the creator.
Yeah.
If I had the ability to just be the creator and nothing else, like that's what I would choose. So
Well,
that's
and I think that's the thing is I think that there are some individuals either are unwilling, aren't uninterested, or don't have the bandwidth to explore doing some things by themselves on their
Right.
own. And so yeah, I get
yeah. I mean, especially
Right.
like if you're a bigger named creator, it's gonna be hard to fulfill 5,000 orders,
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, Ken, you got anything? Any last words for Joseph here? Any last questions?
No, I think I've gotten like a lot out of this discussion already.
Awesome,
Well, I appreciate it.
cool.
Thank you
Joseph,
guys for having me on.
yeah, man, of course. Joseph, before we get
Yeah.
out of here, man, let people know where they can find you. Where can they buy your book? And let's tell them about the author indie book fair one more
Okay.
time.
All right, one more time. I'll start with the book fair. It is called the Author Indie Book Fair 2023. If you run a
Ken,
search,
throw that
yeah,
flyer up one more
throw the
time.
flyer
Oh,
up.
okay.
But if you you can find it on Eventbrite. You can find it on Facebook events. You can find it on, if you go to Sawyer Yards' website, on their events, they've got it linked. You can click on that QR code. But yeah. And then in terms of my book, if you go to, so the name of my fantasy novel is Upon the Arrival of Dawn. That can be found anywhere online, including your local bookstore. They can order it for you if they don't have a copy. Arrival of Dawn.
Sweet, yeah, man. Go ahead
And
and
then
pull that
right
up.
there, Amazon's the first. of course, they're the first to want to offer it to you because they have
Nice.
they have the means to control the dialogue and the narrative, right? But
Of course.
Right.
but that's it right there. And then yeah, look out for very soon, next 6 months, my graphic novel will be ready, and yeah,
Cover right there.
that's the cover. The back cover is nearly ready. I just looked at the almost completed version this morning. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. Ken, where can the good people out there find you? Where can they read your work?
You guys can find me at the Comic Ken on Twitter. I'm on there pretty much every day, and then I'm also on Instagram at Comic Ken, and on YouTube on my own channel at Comic Ken as well. And you can read Air Rider, High School Hero, my webcomic, on Global Comics right now, and I have a website in development.
Awesome. And you guys can find me at Nico_Writes on Instagram and on Twitter. You can also follow me on my Substack at nicorodriguez.substack.com. got a handful of shows coming up. Once they get a little bit closer, I'll start letting you guys know where you can come chat with me at those. But other than that, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode this week, and we will see you next time.
Peace.